Welcome back to the SheSapiens podcast. I'm Julia, one of the co-founders of SheSapiens, and today I'm going to be your podcast host. I'm very excited to be sitting here today with an amazing guest, Anna Jones. She helps people lead their life with more authenticity, and she also published her new book just very recently that we will talk about today. Welcome, Anna.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, I'm great.
Good, thank you for having me.
We were talking about this earlier, authenticity. What does this even mean?
I think authenticity is a word that gets thrown around a lot, but the way that it comes into my world and in my field and when I'm working with clients is people don't really know who they are. They were told who they were and they kept building this persona, right? It's like a snowball, and they just kept snowballing into that identity. And then there comes a point in life where some part of them just says like, I don't want to be here anymore. And so that is when they start to really ask themselves, do I really like my job? Do I really like my personal relationships? Do I like my romantic relationship? Like, who are the people that I hang out with? What are the types of things that I would like to hear versus what are the things that I'm constantly being reflected back to me? And so I think authenticity in this way can be like freedom from all the past versions that you were taught that you had to be. So when you really release yourself from all of that, and this takes a lifetime, right? It's not like a one and done, but there are a lot of practices that people can start to do and bring into their life. And you can start really to see the shifts really quickly that can lead them into that freedom, that can lead them into that authenticity where you don't have to really remember what you said when you talk to somebody, or because you're not lying. You're always expressing yourself. Your business. I always tell people like my business is an extension of myself. So that if you want to work with me, you just need to really like get a vibe from me. And that's what kind of takes people into, becoming my clients. Just like having that authenticity.
Yeah, this sounds amazing and at the same time very scary because we create a life around this persona that we are not anymore, or we are growing into something else, and that means we will have to change our friends or work or maybe partner. That can be really, really scary.
Yeah, it is very scary, and that's why not everyone signs up. There are a lot of people who refuse to face these realities, and so you have two choices, and both of them are challenging choices. You make the choice of moving forward and choosing to be who you really want to be, or you choose to stay where you are and to complain, right, about the things that you don't like and how everybody's taking advantage of you and how everyone, you are the victim or the victor, right? So you always get to choose. And who knows, right? Like, this is my perspective, but maybe the people who are in their victim think that they are the victors, and that's fine. Like, I always tell people, I'm no one to come and disrupt anyone's reality. If that's something that makes you happy, who am I to take that from you? You didn't hire me. You didn't ask for my opinion. So I think that this is really important when we're coaching, because when we coach, especially in the beginning phases, we want to help everyone and we want to save everyone, but not everybody wants to be supported. First of all, we don't need to save anyone. And second, not everybody wants our help. Yeah. So I think that there is this just respect that has to be, an acceptance that not everybody is ready to take that leap, because it is scary. And I tell this to clients, we are always dying and coming alive again. Like, this is very normal. When there's a part of your brain that says, we're going to die. I want to die. I want to die right now. People think that these are suicidal thoughts, but they're not. It's part of you that cannot keep up with the reality that you are building. And so it must die in order for the version of you who is capable of sustaining, maintaining, and growing that version of you to move forward and to come about. So when you really understand this, it just takes off so much pressure. And you're like, oh, all those things that I was thinking, it was just part of the process. Absolutely, everyone thinks that way.
Yeah, so interesting. And I want to dive deeper into your personal experience. Was there a moment in your life where you felt like you were not living according to your inner values, like where you were not in alignment, and like what was the catalyzer for you to start doing this work first with yourself and then helping others?
So I was 30 years old, and I had my own business, and but my partner at the time was part of that business. And so we were living together, we had a business together, everything. So, and I had always been in relationships where I never felt like I want to stay here. And so I never understood like what it felt like to be with the one, or the person that you can build a life with. And so I just thought, this is it, like this is the way it has to be. But this is the thing, the subconscious mind knows things that the conscious mind doesn't know. And so what happened was that I knew that I couldn't be my full self in this relationship. Why? Because I was with someone that mocked my beliefs, that, was, we weren't compatible. We just weren't compatible. I wouldn't be talking to you right now if I would have stayed in that relationship.
It's like having to put on a mask and be someone that you're not in order to fit into a relationship or family or community.
It's not being able to share yourself fully with your person, and it's not like they have to know every single detail of your life. No, sometimes I don't even want to know every single detail of me, but that's just how it is, right? Being in closeness, in relationships, friendships, siblings, whatever, and also romantic relationships. If you want to build a life with someone, it is important for that. No, I've shared this before, but I think this is the first time that I share this with like the Lisbon community. But our brains are so wired, right, for survival, that I cheated. And so that was the only way that I thought that I was going to be able to get out of there. And I was wrong. Because after he found out, he was like, let's make it work. And I was like, what? The plan didn't work, subconsciously, right? And so it was horrible. It was horrible, because then I was in this space of like, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done that, and because you hurt someone that you care about. I don't think I was in love, but still I wouldn't want to hurt someone that I cared about, that I had a life with. And it was really interesting because we went to therapy, all these things, no? And he was able to forgive me before I forgave myself. I always ask myself, like, could I have lived my life without this event happen? And the answer is no, because if it wouldn't have happened, then it wouldn't have happened. But it did. So it had to have been this way. And I think that a lot of times we don't get that life isn't the way the social construct is. Life isn't like, this is good, this is bad. Life is like, this is what you have to experience. You haven't learned. Let me give you a lesson. Well, you will learn and you will get out of there, so you don't have to continue to play small. And so I really think that was a very painful experience, and I wish it wouldn't have been necessary, but I think we both learned a lot. We parted ways afterwards. We were able to mend and everything, and I think that was something that if I had the courage and the self-esteem and the I guess just believing in myself and trusting in myself, I wouldn't have stayed there, and I wouldn't have done what I did. And in the end, he told me, I understand why you did it. And there are times when I look back and I wish that I wouldn't have said, or I wouldn't have done the things that I did. And so it was a really beautiful, very emotional, last meeting that we had. And, like if we see each other, we'll say hello to each other. And I think we will gladly, wish each other well. But there are these painful moments, right, that we don't want to talk about. But I think that we just have to be honest that, life is what it is. It's not just like, oh my gosh, look at me, I'm perfect. And, life on Instagram, or even what people tell you, sometimes it's like, not everybody wants to share the full story. And that's okay. They don't have to. They're not obligated to. Yeah. Our responsibility is to not believe that the grass is greener on the other side. Because I don't know your story, just like you don't know mine, right? You may know bits and pieces, but you don't know everything.
Yeah.
You don't know my thoughts, you don't know my feelings, you don't know a lot of things, right? And sometimes I don't even know where the things come from. So I think that the more we normalize, and this is what took me right down the path of like being an emotional, I guess, support, if we can summarize it that way, for myself, for my clients, because we don't allow emotions and feelings to move through our body. No emotion wants to stay captive. No emotion wants to stay here. When somebody says, I'm an anxious person, no, you're not. There's no such thing as an anxious person. You've just trapped anxiety because you needed a friend, you needed something to cling on to and to bond to, that you've kept this emotion captive. But that emotion doesn't want to be there all the time. It's waiting for you to set it free. So I think, again, like, all of these feelings that I was feeling at the beginning of the guilt and the shame and just like they were very intense, right? It was just like, it was time and you know, a lot of healing and therapy and coaching and so many things that I did to release. It just took me closer to who I really am. So
yeah, it's beautiful that you were able to transmute and use this difficult experience and very painful experience, as you describe, to kind of rise from the ashes and become someone who is now feeling more aligned, where like you have this beautiful shine in your face where you can tell that this person is like walking the earth with a different energy than all the others who are like, you know, following the steps or living inside of a box.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate that.
Because of our audience that is mostly female entrepreneurs or aspiring ones, what could you share that helps them maybe use their self-doubt and all the fear of maybe having the belief that it's gonna be so difficult and so hard that they kind of step into this authenticity and who they truly are with more ease and joy?
Well, they can hire me. But if they want to go down another route, I always tell my clients, you know, give yourself a lot of grace. That is like the number one thing. Like everything that you move through, let grace hold your hand. And what is grace? Grace is like this immense amount of infinite compassion. Because if I were to put all of my clients in a room, all the people that I've served, even the people that I've done like one-off sessions with, it's the same thing. It's all the same thing. We all feel the same things. We all go through. And so this is why I think I've also learned to be just more comfortable with who I am, because I'm like, everyone around me is going through the same stuff. I'm just owning it. And I'm talking about it. And so I think the more we normalize things, the more we talk about things, they become like the sun. It comes up. You know, it has to come up. And so I think it's really important for you to remember that everything is a process. Life is a process. Life is a journey. If you're obsessed with like 10K months, 10K followers, 10K whatever, it's like remove that from your focus and start looking for things that are exciting to you. Start looking for things that make you come alive and make you want to be on this earth longer. Because if you're just here for the 10K months, like that's not really like, for me, that's not a purpose, right? You're just getting kind of distracted with all this like buzz around of like how this is the goal. That's not the goal.
Yeah. If I'm thinking about this goal that is like so narrow-minded with the 10K and I'm like just focusing on achieving that, then am I really creating a life that I'm gonna enjoy? Because am I willing to pay the price to arrive there? Or what are the steps that are gonna be required of me to get there in X amount of time? Or can I get there organically in a different way without having this narrow mind of focused on the goal?
Yeah. We had this workshop and we had this person who was like, I haven't been doing anything professionally for 2 years. And then of course, you know, I can read a person very easily nowadays. And I was like, it's probably this and this and this, no? So Asian background, very hard, like that's a very common thing. You have to take into account your ethnicity, your culture, your background. How did your parents raise you, right? Asian cultures are very strict. So everything has to be perfect. If it's not perfect, don't even open your mouth. Don't even say a word. Don't embarrass me. So automatically this person had like this break that's just like, I can't do this. And so that stops us from creating. And what happens if we stop creating? We stop living. We die inside, because that's what we came here to do. We are, these like channels that are meant to just bring things into life. Exactly. And if you're not expressing yourself,
the energy doesn't flow.
Exactly.
Doesn't move,
Exactly.
And it's when it creates like big
diseases in the body, right? When you're in dis-ease, you have, things in the body that need to be, moved around. And I have worked with people, that are like, oh, well, I had these intestinal issues, gastric issues, these issues, whatever. And we do a session together. I'm not a doctor. I'm not, I don't specialize in anything. It's just we remove all the stuff that's been there. We acknowledge the emotions that have been stuck in the body, the people that haven't gotten angry. That have always been like the people pleasers, the pacifiers, like it's okay, it's all good, everybody's okay. They're like dying inside, right? So these are just some examples, generational trauma, right? If you don't move through the body, if you just don't release it, it also can get you.
What are the most common misconceptions or blockages that entrepreneurs experience?
They really vary. I think that just being an entrepreneur can have so many dis-eases manifest because we put so much pressure on ourselves to make a quota, but it can be intestinal issues, it can be digestive issues. Like I'm constantly some people end up in the hospital, right? Because they don't know how to take breaks. And so the body's like, let me just get real sick so you'll give me a break.
Do something.
So I would say that imposter syndrome is huge, which is more of like a mental thing, but it just stops them. It paralyzes them because they go into perfectionism and they go into this space of like, it has to be done this way. And so I think that when we look at things from that perspective of perfection, that's when we lose. That's really when we're losing as entrepreneurs.
I would love to tie this with the launching of your book, because you're sharing a lot of personal stories there from Mexico City, where your roots are, and Lisbon. I would like to know how this experience has transformed you as a person.
So I was not thinking about how it's going to feel after I published the book, and I was like, oh my God. People who know me are going to read this and they're going to think I'm crazy. And I was like, okay, it's out. I don't care who reads it. I wanted to put a book out because I just wanted to, right? I wasn't worried about like, oh, is it going to be a bestseller or are people going to buy it? I'm just going to put it out for me. And it talks about this devastation that I was experiencing, but also a lot of bliss, a lot of joy, a lot of excitement for life. So really just pouring my emotions into this book. It's a very small book. It's got like 50 something pages, and it just talks about how to move through the human experience. And it's in Spanish, but hopefully we'll do more volumes, more versions, and they can be in different languages. But it's really like my expression of what it is to be Anna, what it is to be human in this lifetime, and what it's like for me to feel and what it's like for me to do certain things.
And when you allow yourself to do the things that you feel called to do, then you're also allowing others to do what they are excited about doing and launching into the world. It's like giving yourself and others permission to just create.
Yeah, you're part of the ripple effect.
So Anna, you are also known as the Bliss Facilitator. What does that even mean?
So it was a very, I don't want to say complicated, but it took me a very long time to get there because I wanted to have an umbrella for all of the services that I provided, because this is the thing about the entrepreneurial world, right? Everybody wants you to have like the niche. Like, you have to have a niche. And I was like, I don't want to have a niche necessarily. Like, I want to be able to serve.
I want to work with people who are ready.
Exactly. It doesn't matter where you come from. Like, I'm happy to support you if you're ready. And so I found that this title was a really great umbrella for all the services that I provide and like the methodologies that I use and everything. So it just really made sense, because at the end of the day, what I want people to experience is freedom. And to me, freedom is bliss, right? A lot of times we may think that bliss is kind of like, oh, like this euphoric, no, like bliss is like sitting at the park and just having a coffee and watching the birds. Like that is bliss also. It's calm, it's peace. And so I really do believe that when you are able to really tap into this experience of, I don't have to be doing all the time, I don't have to be productive all the time, that's not what I came here to do, that's when you can really access your bliss, whatever that means to you.
Yeah, that's something that you talk a lot about, shifting from doing into being.
Yeah. This was a process that was and is still very personal to me, because I was trained very masculine, you know, work hard, you got to be working, you got to be productive, you got to be doing this, why are you there, don't be lazy, get up, YOLO, you know, like, yes, of course, I get it that I only live once, but I don't want to be always doing, because when you're always doing, you don't really enjoy the things that you've done. You can't really appreciate how far you've come. And so I think that was a big thing for me. Just, I didn't realize how anxious I was until one day I was like, why am I walking so fast? Why am I rushing? I'm not late. And then I realized that I would create these circumstances where I was at home, I wasn't doing much, and I was like, oh, I got plenty of time. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I need to leave in 10 minutes. And nothing was ready. And of course, I was creating this chaos for myself because I needed, you know, that drug. I needed that adrenaline. And so if you are or were like me, then you can recognize that there was some dysregulation in the nervous system, right? More and more we have more information about the nervous system, which is really important to talk about, because you can't really live a blissful life if you don't have a regulated nervous system. So that's just one of the things that I think is really, really important, that we really focus on and see and be honest about where we are in our lives.
Beautiful. Well, I have one last announcement to make before we wrap up our podcast episode. You are officially stepping into the role of community leader for the SheSapiens Lisbon chapter.
I am.
How are you feeling about that? Are you excited?
I am. Yeah, very excited.
What would you like to create in the city for female entrepreneurs, especially the ladies?
I would love for them to experience a world of, it's going to sound very cliche, but of like infinite possibilities. I would love for them to catch themselves, to see where they have been keeping themselves from playing small, and then start to see the world in a different place, because I think that life wants to give, and if we're not willing to receive, then we are all the ones who are creating the chaos. We are the ones who are creating that, you know, scarcity, because abundance is always there. We were always meant to be abundant. We just thought, we've been tricked into believing that that's not the case, and that's only available for some. So this is what I would like to bring to the SheSapiens community.
Thank you so much. That's so beautiful and heartwarming.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much, Anna. We could say that this was a very blissful conversation. Where could our audience find you?
The best way is through Instagram. I promised myself that I would post every single day for a year.
Wow.
Because the truth is, the majority of clients come to me from in-person, you know, word of mouth, etc. So I'm giving social media one last chance, and so I'm giving it 365 days. So yes, very active currently, and you can find any links there if you're ready to book, if you just want to get to know a little bit about who I am, what I do. Everything is on there. In-person events, online stuff, all the things.
Thanks so much. And for our audience, if you like this episode, feel free to share it with your friends, and we hope to have you again soon.